Hello. I'm going to discuss Magick of the Ancient Gods, Chthonic Paganism, and the Left-Hand Path. This book has been a very important project for me in exploring the foundations of the gods from a cultural, mythological, and religious perspective. In doing this, I've come to understand that almost every single god within the book and goddess are approachable and have some foundation in left-hand path ideology, theory, and practice, not only from a historical perspective, but their psychological perspectives in mythology and how we can apply it in a modern sense. The invocations outlined in Magick of the Ancient Gods are actually from Pythian hymns or ancient hymns regarding to the sacrifice and offerings of incense and so forth to the gods. So in working with these spirits, their collective unconscious energies that have existed in cultural foundations for thousands of years, there's quite a bit to draw from if you can draw from it in a self-affirming, creative way. The invocations, as they are very simple. They're almost poetry. And when performing them, you have to center yourself as the temple or center of the universe to which you're calling those in. So your mindset initially has to be completely encircled, ensorcelled, and encompassed in the work of calling forth that specific spirit or God. Let's start with number one from the Greek pantheon, which would be Zeus. I know a lot of ceremonial magicians and so forth over the years, and recently 200, 300 years, have mentioned and corresponded Zeus with the Hebraic God, or Yahweh. Well, Zeus actually has very little to do with this, and can actually be seen as a left-hand path deity in many aspects. Number one, Zeus has several titles associated with him in primal times, and is depicted as taking the form of a giant serpent, which people offered sacrifice to. And his relation as an underworld deity was, although hidden and brief compared to other gods and his later role, it, however, is very important in understanding foundations of Zeus. First, Zeus usurped the throne from his father, and that correspondence can be found in Luciferian type characters throughout history, people who've self-affirmed their right to conquer and have done so. Gatares II, who was a Parthian king, took the throne. Phraates IV, who was around the time of the Parthians, was a Parthian king and was a correspondent of Augustus Caesar. Also slayed a majority of his family in those times because they would interfight and kill one another to take rule. He actually was successful in commanding rule for quite a period of time. Very similar to Zeus. Zeus took the throne and ruled as the chief of the gods. Zeus had a balanced perspective. He was neither good nor evil. He did wonderful things and sometimes cruel things, hence Prometheus and others. Zeus was also the patron god of Antiochus IV, who's very much, in historical perspective, a Luciferian character. He became known as the Little Horn in the Hebraic Bible and so forth, and was the cause, reportedly, of the Maccabean War. Zeus is a conquering god, a god of foundations, of thunder, of the air, of the sky. His brother, Hades, or Pluto, was the ruler of the underworld. They were still associated. Later on, in Egypt, after the time of Alexander the Great, Zeus Seraphis became the patron god of Egypt, and he was a combination of Zeus, Hades, Dionysus, and others. And he related to have a torch upon his head, indicating power, intelligence, and the light. Invocations with these gods, if calling Zeus, you would call a specific aspect of his name or title, which relates to the goal that you're seeking. If you're seeking mastery of the self and your particular life in general, then Zeus as the father would be what you call, and you relate to that spirit or deific force within. You connect yourself to it. So in calling Zeus, you're calling the aspect of yourself that would command mastery in your environment. Applying that to achieve results would be thinking every day, what do I do today to affirm a better result for me tomorrow and what I want to achieve? So you would sort of map out what you're going to do today, how you're going to deal with people, and confront the flaws in character that allow your problems to amass every day. So then you're going to slowly start attacking those, and then you're going to see in the coming weeks or months some significant results from applying that deific force as within yourself. Apollo is another significant aspect, in that Apollo has a light and dark side as well, balanced. Being the god of music, beauty, and all those things, Apollo as the shining light was an associative god with not only Antiochus IV, but also Nero Caesar, who often played a musical instrument in the style of Apollo. And even Caligula took some of the role of Apollo at certain times. The Emperor Domitian, who is related to Apollyon, the Lord of the Abyss, is actually closely connected. Apollo was a god of divination, of foreseeing events. But he was also the far striker, or plague sender, so he equally created and destroyed as well. When Christianity took form, Apollo was a competing god against that new cult, and associated with Domitian, who persecuted the Christians, who saw them as a vile, small cult of death worshippers. He was soon connected with Apollyon, the lord of the pit, of the bottomless pit, and thus a plague angel. Apollo soon was transformed into, due no doubt to his persecution and the aspect of Apollo sending forth arrows. So working with Apollo, one would see creativity increase within your own perspective of what you're able to do, but also your divination could be one aspect. So working with tarot, runes, anything to foresee and shape what you wish to achieve in your future. And a dark aspect of sending plague, exploring the aspects of the primal, of pure instinct, of the insect, and how those relate to instinct, survival. All those things are very, very interesting. The bottomless pit obviously relates to the subconscious mind, so exploring the darkest aspects of your consciousness are also equally important. This is just one aspect of Magick of the Ancient Gods, because it explores a multi- and transcultural approach to gods normally considered associated with the right-hand path.